All right, so I just got back from watching 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, the sequel to last year's 28 Years Later, which was kind of a legacy sequel to 28 Days Later. And then we will just ignore the in-betweequel, whatever we're calling it. What was it? 28 weeks later. I believe that's what, it wasn't 28 months, so it was 28 weeks later. I believe. Maybe it was months. I don't know. Who cares? No one likes that one anyway. So this is the fourth movie, and it is a direct sequel, though, to 28 Years Later. And when I say direct sequel, I mean direct sequel. It picks up almost immediately. Not quite immediately, but almost immediately where 28 years later left off. So if you're curious to see this movie, but are a little fuzzy on what happened in 28 years later, a recap or a rewatch would serve you well. This one is not directed by Danny Boyle. This one is directed by Nia DaCosta, who directed The Marvels, which was not good, but we can blame Marvel for that one, not her, because this movie's great. I don't think it is. I think I vibe more with 28 Years Later, which is an unpopular opinion. I think I liked that movie a bit more than most people, but it just kind of hit me closer to home. And this one is, I think, equally as good. Uh, just it didn't hit me where I live as much as 28 Years Later did. But it is still good. It is a lot less bombastic. Like, you can kind of summarize 28 Years Later as reintroducing you to the world. You know, it's been 28 years, almost 3 decades since the infected went across all of, England and whatnot. So, it's been a while. So we're reintroducing you to this brave new world, as they say. This movie kind of zooms in on one particular element of this new world. It kind of goes along with the trope of most zombie movies and TV shows where humanity are the true monsters after we've gotten used to the zombies and we're like, we've reestablished society, but the zombies are still a thing. The real monsters are humans. And that could be interesting, and that is true in real life, but sometimes, movies and shows or whatever can dwell on that a little too much, where the zombies are just an afterthought in a zombie movie, which doesn't seem right. This movie does a smart thing, though, where it does focus a lot on the awfulness and the horror that man can inflict on fellow man. But it doesn't forget the infected. They're not zombies. Infected. They're very similar to zombies, but it doesn't lose focus on that too. The infected still have a big role to play in this movie, and they are not thrown aside for the more interesting characters. In fact, things are done in this movie with the infected that I've never seen in any other zombie movie before, at least one that takes itself seriously like this movie did. So I appreciated that. I will say this movie is not for the faint of heart, but if you've seen the other 28 days, years later movies, you already kind of know that. These movies can be quite brutal when they want to be, and this movie is no exception. In fact, I think it has a scene. One of the scenes in this movie is one of the most brutal scenes I've seen in this series at all. So, goes without saying. But if you are squeamish about violence and gore and that sort of thing, you can skip this one. This one's not for you. You're not gonna like it. But if you can stomach that, you're in for quite a treat, because the performances in this movie are great, the special effects are great, the story is fresh and interesting, especially for someone who has seen so many versions of the zombie narrative. This was an interesting way to tell a story within that world. And I quite appreciated the parallels in this movie. There is a psycho, sort of devil worshipping cult in this movie who are inflicting harm on people, fellow men. And then there is someone in this movie, Ray Fiennes' character, who is trying to do the opposite. He's trying to heal. And so at first I was a little worried that this movie was just going to be scene after scene of, you know, tragedy or horror with no real point, just kind of pointing out how awful humanity is, which I agree with, but that's not enough for a whole movie to be. But those scenes had a point because they are paralleled by scenes of kindness, of healing, and showing these two different sides of humanity. Now, as far as the cult in this movie goes, there's a lot of, like, you know, weird imagery, you know, sort of, because they are devil worshippers, so there's a lot of sacrilegious stuff going on with them, and the movie makes the point that religion is used to hurt people, harm people, um, manipulate people, make people seem weak and afraid. And that did not offend me, even though I am a Christian. It didn't offend me, and I actually appreciated it because it is true. You would be a fool not to say this about, if you just look at history, right? Religion, not just Christianity, all religions have been used to harm people negatively. They've been used for people to get power. They've used by people to hurt other people. They've been used for people to get money so they can get whatever they want. It's been used for people to have an excuse to commit atrocities, right? A whole lot of mankind has perverted so many good things, and Christianity is one of them. And so this movie didn't offend me because it wasn't saying, at least I didn't get this, that, you know, religion is bad. But when you pervert it and corrupt it into something it was never meant to be, it becomes evil and awful. And I actually appreciated that because it is juxtaposed by someone who is not religious, but is acting, every act he takes is true kindness. He just wants to help people. And that is good and pure. And he is elevated as the hero of the movie. If this didn't happen, I would not like this movie at all. But because this movie presents it in this way, I actually quite enjoyed and appreciated the movie. So, if you are a fan of zombie movies or the 28 Years, Days Later franchise, you've enjoyed them, go watch this. Go watch this in the theater. It's definitely worth your time. If you don't like zombies and you don't like, you know, gory, you know, movies and stuff like that, you can go ahead and skip this one. It's not going to be for you. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple.